I returned to my small hometown a few months ago. I was 32, and I needed to care for my mom. She was sick, and I felt it was my duty. I knew this town well, but everything felt different now. The tree-lined streets looked familiar yet strange. I moved back into my childhood home. Memories surrounded me like ghosts I couldn't shake off. One evening, as I sorted through old photos, I heard muffled voices coming from the neighbors' houses. I couldn't make out any words, but the tones sounded anxious. Parents whispered about their kids and strange behaviors. I thought it was just typical small-town gossip. Still, a weight settled in my stomach. I tried to brush it off and dive back into my memories. In the weeks that followed, I saw the parents acting oddly. They checked their locks over and over as if they were scared. I noticed them pacing outside their homes and standing in huddled groups in backyards. Each time I saw them, my heart started racing, but I didn't say anything. I couldn't tell if I was overreacting or if something was truly wrong. Then I began to hear about kids going missing. I heard bits of conversations at the coffee shop. "Did you hear about Emily?" they said. "She hasn't been seen in days." Emily was a sweet girl. I remembered her laughter, and it chilled me to the bone. I wondered who else was missing while watching the other parents grow more tense and serious. I felt uneasy, but I didn't know what to do. When I tried to talk to the parents, they responded in clipped tones. They looked over their shoulders as if someone might overhear. It felt wrong. I wanted to ask more about their worries, but I held back. I felt the hairs on my neck stand up. Something was definitely off, and I didn't want any part of it. One night, I stood on my porch, watching Mrs. Jones next door. She was pacing too, whispering to her husband like she was sharing something secret. I felt drawn to their discussion but was scared of what I might hear. I hesitated. My heart raced as I imagined the worst. Suddenly Mrs. Jones looked up. Our eyes met for a brief moment. Her face twisted into something between fear and anger. Then she turned away quickly, like she knew something I didn't. That bothered me deeply. I thought about confronting her, but doubt kept me frozen in place. Then one night I heard it again. "Why are you here?" It was a voice from behind me. I spun around, but there was nobody there. An icy chill ran down my spine. I stood still, my heart hammering in my chest. I looked over my shoulder and felt the air grow heavy. Whatever was happening in this town, I was no longer just an observer. I was part of it. I felt eyes on me, but when I searched the shadows, I saw only the darkness. I didn't know how deep this went, or what I could do. And I was terrified of what I might find. The next day, I woke up with a sense of dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was happening. I made my way to the kitchen, my mom still asleep. The sun streamed through the window, but even that didn't lift my spirits. I poured myself a cup of coffee, the hot liquid burning my hands. I decided I needed answers. I grabbed my jacket and went outside. The air felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. As I walked down the street, I noticed fewer children playing. A group of parents were gathered near the park, speaking in hushed tones. I wanted to approach them but hesitated. Just then, I saw Mrs. Jones walking toward me. Her eyes were wide, and her hands trembled slightly. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, glancing around nervously. I nodded, my heart racing. We stepped off the sidewalk, out of earshot of the group. "I'm worried about my daughter," she whispered. "She got a strange phone call last night. A voice told her to come to the woods." My stomach twisted. "Did she go?" Mrs. Jones shook her head. "No. She was too scared. But she said her friend Lucy got a call too. I can't shake this feeling that something is watching us." "Lucy's missing," I said softly, remembering the whispers at the coffee shop. "Exactly," Mrs. Jones replied, her voice trembling. I think there's a reason behind all this." I wanted to ask more, but I could hear a noise coming from the direction of the park. It was a shrill scream, cutting through the air, and sending a chill down my spine. It felt wrong, out of place. I turned to Mrs. Jones, and we both froze, trying to figure out what to do next. Stay here, I said. I could feel a pull towards the sound, a magnetic urgency. Fear flooded my veins, but I couldn't ignore it. I needed to know what was happening. I hurried toward the park, my legs quickening with each step. As I got closer, I spotted kids running away, their faces pale and terrified. I saw a figure standing by the trees, obscured by the sunlight. It was large, shadowy, and it felt wrong. My throat tightened, and instinct told me to turn back. But I couldn't. That would mean running away from whatever was going on. I crept closer, and that's when I saw a child-sized backpack lying on the ground, a pink ribbon tangled in the grass nearby. No. This couldn't be happening. I backed away, closing the distance to Mrs. Jones, my breath quickening. We need to leave! I shouted, panic rising in my chest. But as we turned to run, we heard a low growl echoing from the woods behind us. Something was coming, and we were caught in its sights. I charged back toward Mrs. Jones, my heart pounding. The growl vibrated through the air, and I felt its weight settle on my shoulders. I couldn't shake the image of Lucy's backpack. I could hear my voice shaking when I shouted again, "Run!" Without waiting for a response, I took off down the street, my legs pumping beneath me. Adrenaline coursed through my body, pushing away any thoughts of doubt. I could hear Mrs. Jones' footsteps behind me, but I didn't dare look back. I just knew we needed to get away. As we rounded the nearest corner, I finally slowed to catch my breath. The panic suffused my thoughts. What was that thing? I asked, gasping for air. I don't know, Mrs. Jones said, her voice trembling. It didn't sound like any animal I've ever heard. I glanced back, half expecting something to leap from the shadows, but the street remained empty. The heavy air pressed down, thick with tension. We should find other people. We can't be alone in this, I said, my voice steadier now. Mrs. Jones nodded, wiping sweat from her forehead. Let us check the coffee shop. There are usually people there. We hurried away, my thoughts racing. My mind replayed the events over and over, the scream, the figure, Lucy's backpack. Inside my gut, an anxious knot tightened. What happened to Lucy? When we reached the shop, it was eerily quiet. The door swung open, creaking loudly in the silence. I stepped inside, feeling like we were entering a different world. The barista paused, eyes wide, hands frozen mid-task. What's wrong? I asked, searching for someone to explain. Did you hear it? She whispered, her voice barely audible. Heard what? Mrs. Jones demanded, worry etched across her face. The scream. It came from the park, the barista replied, her hands shaking now. No one knows where it came from, or who it was, but it sounded like it came from no, I interrupted, my thoughts racing. It might be Lucy. The barista blinked at me, her expression shifting. I don't want to spread rumors, but there's no sign of her anywhere. It's like she vanished. Panic surged through me once more. I stared out the window toward the park, half expecting to see something lurking in the trees. We have to go find her, I said, turning back to Mrs. Jones. But as we moved toward the door, the barista suddenly spoke again. There's something else, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. They say people have been hearing voices too. Calling them in the night. Telling them to go into the woods. I felt my chest tighten. It was the same thing Mrs. Jones had said about her daughter and the calls. You think that's connected to Lucy? Or whatever that was in the park? I don't know, the barista said, shaking badly now. But we need to be careful. I think something isn't right in our town. Just then, a faint rustle came from outside, and my heart dropped. We stepped cautiously to the window, peering out. My blood ran cold as I scanned the darkness. Some of the parents from the park were gathered outside, their faces locked in fear, bodies trembling. Then something moved, a shape darting through the trees. My breath caught. It wasn't human. It didn't even look like an animal. Before I could react, a chilling howl echoed through the air, sending shivers down my spine. Something was out there, and it was closer than we thought. I turned away from the window, heart racing. We need to get to the park, now, I said urgently. Mrs. Jones's face paled, but I saw determination flash in her eyes. Together, we bolted from the coffee shop. The night felt more oppressive than before, shadows clinging to us as we ran. The street lights flickered overhead, casting strange shapes around us. Muffled sounds of panic reached our ears, parents calling out for their children, voices carrying fear. My mind whirled with questions. What was happening? Why wasn't anyone doing anything? Somber thoughts pulled me deeper as we neared the park entrance. The trees loomed like dark sentinels, whispering secrets I couldn't quite catch. Then I saw it. A small figure huddled by the swings. Lucy! I yelled, but the figure didn't move. What if it's not her? Mrs. Jones whispered, her voice shaking as we cautiously approached. Anxiety gripped my chest, and I felt a chill run down my spine. As we got closer, I realized it wasn't Lucy. It was a teddy bear. Its button eyes stared blankly, surrounded by the cold ground. I felt sick. Where could she be? I asked, my stomach twisting with dread. Listen, Mrs. Jones said, her expression fierce. The howl echoed again, closer this time. It reverberated through my bones, instinct urging me to run. We have to call for her, she continued, raising her voice. Lucy! Lucy! The night was silent except for the soft rustle of leaves. My heart pounded in my ears. Then, just beyond the trees, I heard a faint whisper. Help me! The sound clawed my insides. Did you hear that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Jones nodded, eyes widening. It sounded like her. We edged closer to the sound, fear slicing through the air. The trees swayed ominously, their branches reaching for us like fingers. Lucy! We shouted again, our voices mingling in the ominous stillness. With every step, the whisper grew clearer, the broken plea tugging at my heart. Help me! Please! But we were almost there, and as we stepped further into the darkness, a blinding light exploded before us. I stumbled back, hands raised to shield my eyes. Then, just as quickly, it vanished. The silence fell harder, thicker than before. What was that? I gasped. Before Mrs. Jones could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a man, tall and gaunt, his head tilted unnaturally. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice low and gravelly. You need to go back. Fear coursed through me, but I held my ground. Where's Lucy? I demanded. The man's eyes flickered, and he pointed toward the woods. She's where she belongs. You'll never find her among the living. I felt a jolt run through me. Before I could react, he turned and vanished into the darkness, leaving us frozen in confusion. What did he mean? My mind raced as I exchanged a look with Mrs. Jones, her expression mirroring my alarm. This escalated quickly, and I knew one thing: we were running out of time. Lucy was still out there, but whatever was lurking in the woods would not let us find her easily. Then a rustle came from behind us, and I turned, dread pooling in my stomach. Someone was here, and they weren't friendly. My instincts flared. I waited, breath held, heart pounding. It was one thing to hear whispers in the distance, but this felt different. The presence behind us sent icy fingers down my spine. I spun around, ready to confront whatever loomed in the dark. There they were, 3 figures, their faces obscured by the night. My heart raced. Their movements were erratic, almost like they were unsure of themselves. Who are you? I shouted, voice strained with fear and anger. Stay away! Mrs. Jones yelled, positioning herself slightly in front of me. I could see her hands tremble. The figures paused. We're looking for our kids, one of them finally called out, voice shaky. Something in their tone made me hesitate. Have you seen them? The desperation made me want to help. We're looking for Lucy, I said. A little girl, around 8 years old. Have you seen her? They exchanged glances, confusion mixed with fear. We haven't seen anyone, another one said. They almost seemed relieved but also distraught. Then you shouldn't be here, the first figure warned, glancing into the trees behind us. You need to go home. It's not safe. My throat tightened. What do you mean? What's going on? One of them took a step forward. I could barely make out the features, dark hair matted down, eyes wide with panic. You have to understand, there's something watching us. It knows. Before he could finish, a loud growl echoed through the park, rippling the air like a shockwave. The hairs on my arms stood on end. I could feel the weight of something looming in the dark. The figures turned, eyes filled with terror. Run! Mrs. Jones screamed, grabbing my hand and pulling me back towards the entrance. The noise grew, drowning out everything else, a deep rumble followed by something crashing in the foliage behind us. I stumbled, dragging my feet as Mrs. Jones pulled me forward. What about Lucy? I gasped. I don't know, she shouted back. But we can't stay here. We burst into the open, the light of the street lamps dulling the fear that hung over the park like a fog. But I felt it creeping back, uncertainty gnawing at my mind. I turned back for one last look, and that's when I saw it, two glowing eyes peering at us from the tree lean, watching, waiting. The figures were gone, swallowed whole by the shadows. We sprinted toward the street, terror fueled by the reality crashing down around us. Whatever was out there wasn't just hunting. As we reached the parking lot, I felt a weight settled on my chest. We had almost made it out, but we hadn't found Lucy. We need to call for help. The police need to. Before I could finish, a scream shattered the air, echoing in the night. It was a scream that made my blood run cold. Lucy's voice. I froze, the blood draining from my face. Lucy's scream echoed in my ears, drowning out everything else. Mrs. Jones jerked her head, scanning the parking lot as if searching for an escape route. We have to go back, I exclaimed, feeling my heart race again. No! She snapped, grabbing my arm tighter. We don't even know what that was. We can't just run off blindly. But what if she's in trouble? My voice trembled. A rush of adrenaline fueled my desperation. I couldn't leave her there. Mrs. Jones hesitated, fear shadowing her eyes. I knew she was terrified, just like I was. But then I remembered the parents in the park, their words, the urgency in their voices. Maybe Lucy was with them. Maybe there was still time. Taking a deep breath, I yanked my arm free and turned toward the direction of the scream. I'm going back. You can stay if you want, but I'm not leaving her. Before Mrs. Jones could respond, I ran. The streetlights flickered as I dashed through the parking lot and toward the park entrance. My heart pounded in my ears. I couldn't think about what might be in the trees. I just had to focus on Lucy. The air was thick with tension as I crossed the threshold into the shadows of the park. The growl from before echoed faintly, a rumble that filled me with dread. I pressed on, deeper into the darkness, calling her name. Lucy! Lucy! My voice bounced off the trees, swallowed by the night. I felt like I was being watched, like those glowing eyes were everywhere. With each step, the darkness felt heavier, like a fog wrapping around me, pulling me back. Lucy! I yelled again, hoping for a response. Nothing came except the rustle of leaves and the distant sound of twigs snapping underfoot. My hands were clammy, and I wiped them on my jeans in a futile attempt to calm myself. Just ahead, I saw a flicker of movement. I squinted, desperate to discern if it was a shadow or something more. As I drew closer, I caught sight of what looked like a backpack on the ground. It struck me like a lightning bolt. Lucy's backpack. I rushed forward, my heart racing as I knelt next to it. It was damp and covered in leaves, as if it had been dropped in a hurry. Lucy! I shouted, panic clawing at my throat. Where are you? Suddenly, behind me, I heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, closing in. A chill ran down my spine. Heart racing, I glanced over my shoulder. The darkness seemed to shift, and I could barely make out a figure emerging from the shadows. Then everything went dark. I wasn't sure if it was just my mind playing tricks or if the night had truly swallowed the light. But there, in that pitch black, I sensed something someone was very close. "Lucy?" I whispered, dread knotting in my stomach. I had no idea what was about to happen next. I felt the tension thickening around me, almost suffocating. I wish I had just listened to Mrs. Jones. My instincts screamed at me to get out. But Lucy was out there, and I couldn't abandon her. The footsteps grew closer. They were heavy, almost deliberate, crunching the leaves beneath. My hands trembled. I had to move. I stood up, adrenaline surging, but the figure in the shadows remained blurred, indistinct. I wanted to shout for Lucy again, but my voice caught in my throat. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the dark, sending chills racing down my spine. It was deep and guttural, a sound that sent panic rushing through me. I squinted into the darkness, searching for the source. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I couldn't just leave. "Who's there?" I managed to croak out, my voice barely above a whisper. The footsteps stopped, and silence enveloped me for a moment. Then, a low chuckle reverberated from the shadows, twisting my stomach into knots. Fear quickly ignited anger. "Show yourself!" I shouted. I couldn't back down now. The figure shifted slightly, and in that moment, I caught a glimpse of white. Teeth glimmered in the darkness like small, predatory stars, and panic surged all over again. I took a step back, my pulse hammering in my ears. But then, the darkness seemed to split just enough for me to see something, a flash of color, bright against the night. It was Lucy's bright pink jacket, snagged on a branch nearby. "Lucy!" I yelled, my throat burning as I lunged toward the jacket. I wrapped my fingers around the fabric, my heart racing as I turned back towards where I heard the voice. But the figure had gone silent. Instead, an even more unsettling noise came from the dark, a rustle, then the sound of something moving cautiously away from me. It felt wrong, like a hunter stalking its prey. I had to move, but it felt like my feet were planted in place. "Get away from her!" I cried, urging myself to sound braver than I felt. I didn't want to be just a target here. I had to fight. A flash of movement caught my eye, and without thinking, I dashed towards it. My body tingled with fear and determination. I spotted a flash of white again, but it wasn't just the figure I feared. Something else was off. As I neared the area, I realized Lucy's backpack had been dragged deeper into the woods. Was she still here? My stomach twisted. I stopped, my mind racing. Where could she have gone? I took a deep breath, coaxing my voice back to life. "Lucy! If you can hear me, say something!" The silence was deafening. Then, just as I felt the heaviness of despair begin to settle in, I heard a faint rustling again, followed by an almost inaudible whisper. "Help me!" I froze, my heart thudding painfully in my chest. I wasn't alone, and whatever was watching was still out there. I stood there, paralyzed, processing Lucy's soft plea. My instincts screamed at me to turn and run, but I couldn't leave her, not when she needed me. I clenched the fabric of her jacket tighter, my pulse quickening with dread. "Lucy!" I called again, my voice louder this time. "Where are you?" The rustling stopped, and a heavy pause settled. It felt as if the forest was holding its breath, waiting. I strained to listen, hoping for any sign of her, but all I heard was the distant rustle of trees swaying. The chill ran deeper as I realized I had to act before whatever lurked in the darkness came back. Taking another deep breath, I forced myself to move. I began to walk cautiously toward where I had heard her voice. The underbrush crackled beneath my feet, each sound amplifying my anxiety. "Keep talking, Lucy! I'm coming!" I moved deeper into the trees, my heart racing. The shadows seemed to shift and dance around me, making me question everything I thought I had heard. Was I following ghosts, or was Lucy really out there? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. "Help me!" the voice came again, more urgent this time, tinged with desperation. "Lucy!" I shouted, my voice echoing into the thick darkness. "Hang on! I'm coming!" I pushed past branches and foliage, my breath quickening with each step. The air felt heavy with a sense of dread, but I pressed onward. Suddenly, the ground dipped beneath me, and I stumbled into a small clearing. The moonlight seeped through the trees, illuminating the space just enough for me to see. That's when I saw it. A large, shadowy figure loomed just beyond the edge of the light. It was hunched, its features obscured, but the glimmering eyes shone like two cold stars. My instincts flared up again, nearly overwhelming me. I stepped back, my heart racing as the figure straightened slightly, the low growl rumbling back into the night air. "Stay away from her!" I screamed, desperation spilling from my lips. I wasn't just scared, I was furious. I wouldn't let this thing take Lucy. The growl turned into a sharp bark, a sound that made my stomach churn. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a movement. A flash of pink caught my attention once more. It was Lucy's jacket again, but something wasn't right. It was now lying torn on the ground, and next to it was something I couldn't identify. I inched closer, half expecting it to vanish into thin air. But as I reached out to grab the jacket, I realized that wasn't just her jacket. It was stained, and goosebumps broke out on my arms. "Lucy!" I called, my voice trembling as I turned to face the figure once more. But it had vanished, leaving me alone in the clearing, heart racing and dread sinking in deeper. The clearing felt smaller now. The shadows around me closed in, and my gut twisted with an all-consuming sense of fear. Then, from behind me, I heard a soft moan. I whipped around. "Lucy?" But the sound didn't come again. Instead, the oppressive silence returned, punctuated only by the distant rustle of leaves. Maybe I should have listened to Mrs. Jones after all. The forest felt like a trap, and I was right in the middle of it. I stood in that small clearing, the weight of silence pressing down on me. I could still feel the sting of Lucy's jacket in my fingers. I had to find her. I glanced around, searching for any sign of her, any clue that could lead me back to her. The shadows shifted again, whispering secrets I couldn't understand. "Lucy!" I called, my voice trembling. "If you can hear me, make a sound!" Nothing. Just the rustle of leaves, mocking my desperation. There was something primal in the air, a sense of wrong that slithered through the trees. I took a step back, grappling with the panic rising in my throat. What if that creature had taken her? I bit my lip, the metallic taste of fear flooding my mouth. I couldn't let that happen. I turned to leave the clearing, trying to retrace my steps back to the trail. My heart pounded in my chest, and each snap of a twig beneath my feet felt like a countdown. I needed to be quiet, I needed to think. But then I heard it again, a soft whimper, more distinct this time, echoing from somewhere deeper into the forest. Without thinking, I headed toward the sound, ignoring the voices in my head telling me to turn back. As I moved, I noticed the air felt colder, the trees loomed taller, and even the moon seemed to dim, swallowing my light. Each step dragged me deeper into the thicket, and every instinct told me to stop. "Lucy!" I shouted again. "Where are you?" "I'm here." The voice was faint but unmistakable, spiraling towards me like a whisper caught on wind. I felt a spark of hope. "I'm coming!" I pushed forward, following the sound. I could see movement now, shadows shifting in my peripheral vision. I quickened my pace, heart racing faster than I thought possible. Then I froze. The clearing opened up again, but this time it was different. There, on the ground, was a small pile of leaves, disturbed as if something had been dragged there. I squatted down, my hands trembling as I brushed away the foliage. What I uncovered made my breath hitch. A small, tattered book lay hidden beneath the leaves. It was Lucy's, the one she used for sketches. I flipped it open, my heart sinking as I recognized the crude drawings inside. They were of faces, twisted and dark, staring back at me. Panic clawed at my chest. I needed to find her now. I stood up, ready to call her name again, but before I could make a sound, something rustled behind me. I spun around, instincts kicking in. But there was nothing there. Just the trees, standing sentinel in the night. Then came that voice again. "Help me, please." This time, it was louder. It sounded desperate, pleading. "Lucy!" I shouted, desperation seeping into every syllable. "I'm right here." "Where are you?" The answer I got was a hollow laugh, echoing through the trees. The laughter was followed by heavy footsteps, thudding softly in the dirt. My heart dropped. Something was coming. I turned and darted back toward the trail, my legs pumping hard against the ground. I didn't look back. All I could think was Lucy. I needed to save her. Suddenly, a shape lunged from the dark, and I barely had time to react. Before I could scream, everything went black. I woke up to the taste of dirt in my mouth and a creeping cold. My heart raced as I pushed myself up, disoriented but driven by one thought: Lucy. The world around me was a blur of shadows and muted colors, a nightmare layered in heavy fog. I strained to hear any sound, any sign of her, but all I caught was the ominous whisper of the trees. "Lucy?" My voice was hoarse, trembling with fear. I struggled to my feet, acutely aware of the thin branches scraping against my arms, clutching at me like skeletal fingers. Panic tightened my chest as I peered into the darkness. Whatever had attacked me, it was gone. Had it taken Lucy? The thought twisted like a knife in my gut. I stumbled forward, forcing my legs to move, pushing through the branches that clawed at my skin. "Lucy! Can you hear me?" I called desperately, each echo swallowed by the oppressive wood. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding, unwilling to let despair take hold again. Then, something shifted in the trees to my right. My breath caught as a shrouded figure stepped forward, and I froze, terror coursing through me. But as the moonlight broke through the canopy, illuminating the scene, I saw it: Mrs. Jones, her face ghostly pale, eyes wide with fear. "Thank God!" she gasped, her voice shaking. "I thought I lost you." "Where's Lucy?" I demanded, urgency lacing my words. Her expression faltered, fear turning her gaze to the darkness behind me. We need to go." I heard her voice, but it felt like it was calling from everywhere at once. I felt a cold sweat bead on my brow. "But we can't leave her. She needs our help. Listen." Mrs. Jones glanced back, her voice faltering. "I think whatever it is, it's using her voice to lure us. We have to get out of here." I hesitated, torn between the rising panic and the instincts telling me to save Lucy. But before I could respond, the air shifted, an unsettling growl rumbling through the forest. The ground vibrated beneath us, and cold wind pulled at the trees, twisting branches like skeletal hands reaching out toward us. "Run!" I shouted, my gut clenching with fear as we both sprinted down the narrow path. Every instinct screamed at me to look back, but I forced myself to focus, dodging as branches whipped towards me. Shadows danced at the edges of my vision, the lurking creature waiting just beyond the light. "Don't stop!" Mrs. Jones shouted, stumbling slightly but quickly regaining her balance. I could feel the weight of dread pressing in, threatening to envelop us both. In the distance, through the thick fog of shadow, I glimpsed a clearing, a space illuminated by the moonlit sky, offering a sense of salvation. We dashed toward it, breathless and terrified. As we burst into the clearing, I could see the ground littered with things: small toys, bits of clothing, remnants from other lost children. I halted, horror washing over me. This is where they've been taken. But just as the realization set in, I heard it again, the voice, soft and pleading. "Help me, please." This time, it was even closer. "Lucy!" I cried, stepping forward. But the moment I did, the ground trembled, and from the darkness behind the trees came a low, echoing growl that seemed to ripple through the night. Mrs. Jones grabbed my arm, terror etched on her face. "It's here!" Suddenly, the darkness split, and shadows coalesced, revealing a massive figure emerging from the gloom. My heart raced at the sight of it. The creature was the size of a man but contorted and twisted, its eyes glowing with a sickly light. It seemed to shift as if made of shadows, hungry, seeking. "Let her go!" I screamed, my voice breaking under the weight of fear. But the creature merely tilted its head, regarding us with a predatory curiosity, before its mouth opened wide, revealing rows of sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. You shouldn't have come, it rasped, the sound echoing like a dark chorus in my mind. In that moment, pure desperation surged through me. I wouldn't leave without her. With an adrenaline-fueled burst of energy, I turned and sprinted deeper into the clearing, dodging the tendrils of darkness. Creeping toward me. I could hear Mrs. Jones behind me, shouting, arguing, pleading, but all I could think about was Lucy. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A flash of color, her bright pink jacket, caught on a thorny bush against the darkened trees. I stumbled, reaching for it, desperate to believe that Lucy was nearby. The creature roared, anger mingling with hunger, but I couldn't back down. I ripped the jacket free, clutching it to my chest like a lifeline. In that moment, the howl erupted again, shaking the very ground beneath us. I turned, seeing the creature rush forward, its twisted form moving faster than I could fathom. "Run!" I screamed at Mrs. Jones, clutching the jacket tight. I turned, dragging her away from the encroaching darkness that sought to pull us in. We burst from the clearing into a tunnel of trees, branches whipping and snapping at our heels, and then silence. The growl faded into the breath of the wind, merging with the rustling of leaves. I looked back. The creature had vanished, swallowed by the night. But even with the terror fading, something gnawed at my insides. Lucy was still missing. I squeezed the jacket tighter, the ghost of her laughter echoing in my mind. "We made it," Mrs. Jones gasped, panting as we stumbled back towards the town. "Did we? Did we really?" I asked, uncertainty pooling in my heart. The path before was dark, but light flickered in the distance, a soft vision of safety. Yet questions lingered in the air: what had happened to Lucy, or the haunting shadows of our past? I moved back to my childhood home, the phantom memories echoing through the walls, though I never found the courage to go back to the park. Sometimes, late at night, I hear a whisper in the wind, a faint call echoing through the darkness. Was it Lucy? Or was it the forest, still hungry, still calling out? I don't know, and I doubt I ever will. But the fear lingers, and I wonder if I'll ever really leave that night behind.